What's up, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and welcome to episode 100 of the People's Questions. Now, before I get into you guys' great set of questions, I have a couple shout-outs I would like to do. First off, on a personal note, I'd like to thank Mr. Mike Styles for helping me come up with the idea, or giving me the idea, to show you guys that little montage of really significant points in the People's Questions over the past 2 years. That idea was not mine, it was his, so be sure to give him a thank you right there in the comments down below. And I'd also like to thank all of you guys out there who have continued to watch 3CR, or the People's Questions, whichever you found me on first, within the last 2 years, because it has been a really crazy journey. I've done so many really interesting things with this little Q&A show, and it not only stands as a marker or a milestone for me that I've actually hit 100 episodes, but I've already surpassed so many other YouTubers who I've been watching for years and had a much further start than I was. I mean, there are YouTubers who have Q&A shows that span years before even 3TR was made, and I've exceeded all of them, and that would not have happened if it wasn't for all of you guys out there. So, if you would please join me, I'd like to give a toast. If you guys would like, maybe pause the video, go out and get a quick drink. I'd like to give a toast out to you who's watching. I'd like to thank you all for helping me get here, for making not just the People's Questions, but 3TR such an amazing experience. You've brought out the best of me, and I can only pray that over the next 100 episodes of People's Questions, or the next episodes of 3TR, I can continue to entertain you and bring you more things to draw people in. So, on the count of 3, let's drink together. 1, 2, 3. Man, that was good. And now on, let's chew on over there, and I'll get to you guys' questions. Well, now that we have those two things out of the way, let's get into these great set of questions for episode 100. And I felt it was necessary to start off with Mike Styles' 2. And he wants to know, if I had $100 million, what would I do with it? Say $100 million, go back to school, get a job, maybe start my own journalism company, gaming journalism, since I don't really think there are too many legitimate ones out there so far. Buy a car, buy a house, have a family, invest the rest of it, and I'll save it for when I need it. I don't really feel like going like all crazy with my money like most people would, that would get that much money all at once and they would just spend it on anything that they want. I would save that for like when I have my own lifestyle established first. So yeah, I would waste it, but after I've established that my life can be secured for maybe the lengthy of the future. Next question is, what are some of my goals for TPQ in 2014? I actually would like to start doing a couple of episodes with other members. I think with the new format that I may be doing, which I'll talk about at the end of the video, I really would like to start doing some TPQ episodes with some of you out there, or some YouTubers that I may end up meeting next year at conventions. That's definitely something I would like to do. Next two questions come from Draven G, and you want to know, what are my favorite Christmas movies? I'm going to pick the top 3. My top 3 favorite Christmas movies of all time would be Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad. Love that movie. Let's see. Charlie Brown Christmas, you can't go wrong with that. That's a classic. And I want to say How the Grinch Stole Christmas, both the animated version and live action. I know a lot of people hate the live action version with Jim Carrey, but for some reason it works for me. I love it. I watch it every year for Christmas, and I would say those are my favorite movies for Christmas. The next question is, do I think it will be fitting for the main event of WrestleMania to have Cena versus Taker? Absolutely not. Look, I'll admit I'm a Cena fan, but there's no reason for him to take on Taker. I mean, I know he stated in an interview that for WrestleMania 30 he would like to take on Taker, but he really doesn't need to. There's just no point. We've already seen Cena take on Taker, and I know that some people would say, oh, but that was when he really wasn't all that popular. That's true, but we've seen it happen, so I don't need to see it happen at Mania. If anything, you want to save Undertaker's last match, which some people have said 30 will be his last match, I would save it for someone like Brock Lesnar, right? And in fact, because I've heard that Brock Lesnar still has a couple, maybe 1 or 2 matches left, and I think that would be the best place to use it at for WrestleMania. Next question comes from a newbie, I believe, and you call by the name of Zarlak Envy. Hope I said that right. I'll be sure to put your name somewhere over there. And you want to know, what are my thoughts on a possible Deadpool movie? They've been talking about a Deadpool movie for some time, and I did hear that they were going to be doing an X-Force movie. The only trouble that I believe a Deadpool movie would have is that there's no question it would have to be R-rated. and it's really hard to bring in a serious crowd with an R-rated kind of comic book movie. I don't think too many of them have done too well in the past, and you know, they're going to be so scared to really put in all the filth and everything that makes Deadpool Deadpool that, you know, you have to remember that this is a business and they have to draw in people, and it's kind of hard to draw in people without bringing in the kids or the teenagers. It's kind of hard to bring them in when it's an R rated, which is why some movies kind of typically like drop it down to PG-13 to bring in more people, because that is a smart tactic. But for a Deadpool movie, that would not work. So if the company who wants to make the Deadpool movie actually has extra money to spare and doesn't care about maybe losing a little bit of profit, then I think a Deadpool movie could work as long as it's R-rated. Next question actually comes from a newbie, and you go by the name of, hope I say this right, this looks like Sofu11. I said that right. And you want to know, if the good guys between DC and Marvel were to fight, who would win? You know what, that is such a crazy question, and there's only one logical answer to who would really win between all the Marvel heroes and all the DC heroes. They would both wipe out each other. It would be a stalemate. They're just, you know, some would think, well, Superman's incredibly powerful, but there are a couple of people that aren't very popular Marvel heroes that I do believe could take down Superman, and vice versa. I don't think there's anyone on the Marvel heroes list that's too powerful that they can't be taken down. So it's a stalemate. They would either wipe out each other, or they would just call it off and state it as a draw. I do recall that there was a Marvel versus DC kind of comic book crossover, and if I remember correctly, they kind of did it like in 2 different seasons. And I believe first season DC won, and then second season Marvel won, so they kind of balance each other out. They each got one win over the other, so it's a draw. Next 2 questions come from Mark Main. You want to know, give 4 titles that I would like them to name Arkham for. I actually was able to write them all down, and the 4 titles that I would name the 4th Arkham games would be Arkham Legacy, simply because, you know, the legacy of Arkham, it takes place after, because I don't want them to go back. Arkham Knights, because in the next Arkham game, I would really like them to actually add the other members of the Bat family. I actually would like to play as Robin, as Nightwing, or maybe if Barbara Gordon wasn't crippled as Oracle, I would like to see play as Batgirl. I think playing as multiple characters in an Arkham environment would work very well. It would change up the gameplay style a bit. Next, Arkham's Damnation. Simply because, for those of you who didn't play Arkham City, Azrael, he hinted on the fact that there was going to be something very terrible that was going to happen to Batman, and I do believe it's possible that Arkham may play a role in it, and so the damnation of Arkham is onto Batman. And finally, Legend of Arkham. Simply because if they're going to do a 4th one, maybe make it like the end of the Arkham franchise, and it's the legend. It's like, what are we going to remember from Arkham that is going to live forever? Not just through comic book video games, but video games in general. And next question is, did I know that Leon and Ada had a one-night stand? You know, that is such a crazy-ass story. You know, technically, since they hinted at it in Resident Evil Damnation, it's kind of considered non-canon, but yes, I am aware of that little one-night stand that they supposedly had. No one's going to clarify it. I mean, there was like that one little article that said that, yeah, they had a one-night stand with this place, but I don't officially count that unless they actually talk about it. They hinted at it, not really talked about it. The next 2 questions come from Ace Arcadia, and you want to know, do I think Midway will release the next Mortal Kombat game in 2014? I don't think they're going to release in 2014, but I hope they actually announce it. Hopefully at next year's E3, I would love to hear an announcement for the next Mortal Kombat game, because I think it's been long enough. Best guess, it'll most likely come out in 2015. Announce it 2014, have it out 2015. And you want to know, in 2013, how many games did I beat on my PlayStation 3? Oh, geez, I beat so many games. For those of you who don't know, I have Gamefly, and I'm constantly putting out new games every, like, other week. So if I had to make a good guess, I would have to say somewhere between 30 or 40 games I actually beat. A good number of them I kept, like, I actually added, like if you actually hold the game long enough, its keep price will decrease, so the longer you hold it, the more it's actually, worth. It's like, it drops price, and I actually did that with a lot of games this year. So, best guess, somewhere between 30 and 40 games. And the last question for episode 100 comes from Muhal. Hope you say this right, because this is a newbie too. And your name is Muhal247, and you want to know, what are my thoughts on FIFA 14 or Assassin's Creed 4? Well, actually, I've never played FIFA. I'm not really interested in the franchise, but it says for Assassin's Creed 4, I absolutely loved it. It took the best single element from Assassin's Creed 3, the naval combat, and expanded upon it and made an entire world around it. I thought the story was phenomenal, and to this day, it is my new favorite Assassin's Creed game of the entire franchise, and I'm really curious to see where they're going to take it after this. And with that, that is the last question for episode 100 of the People's Questions. I'd like to thank all of you guys out there who helped make this episode so special, including you, Mike Styles, for the great intro idea. Now, it's time to look on to the future, because this is the last time, if I can help it, that I will be doing this style of the People's Questions. So, what will I be doing for episode 101? Well, for those of you who've been keeping track of me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, you'll know that I recently purchased this. A very well game capture card, and so from this point on, from every episode on to at least maybe 200, I'm simply going to show you guys gameplay, or my own personal gameplay, of my entire games list. So instead of seeing my ugly muck, which I'm sure you guys don't think I'm too ugly, I don't. I'm just going to show you gameplay footage, Let's Plays. I'm gonna combine my Let's Plays with my People's Questions. So every episode, it's going to be a different game. I do have a collection of over 100 games, and so every episode is going to be completely different. And I'm actually going to break the limit of questions that you guys can send in. So basically how this works is that the more questions that you guys send in, the longer, the more gameplay you'll see. And I'm not sure if I'll bring back the contest questions. I'm not sure if I'll do that or not. Maybe if enough people request it, then I'll have to figure out something. And if I ever do run into an episode where I will be doing it with someone else, then I will go back to this format. But that's only if someone is willing to do an episode of the People's Questions with me and to help me answer these great set of questions that you guys send in every week. And with that, if you like this video and you like this episode of the People's Questions 100, the end of an era, feel free to type in any questions that you want for episode 100 in the comments down below. And if you like this video, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to check for me my future episodes of the People's Questions, my movie, video game reviews, and topic videos. You can also press one of the links in the description down below to follow me on Twitter or friend me on Facebook, and I will be sure to friend you and follow you back. And like always, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for helping me get this far in People's Questions. I hope I continue to entertain you. And like always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.